Welcome back, Love Nation. This is Nina. Make sure you guys like, share, and subscribe. Thank you to everybody that has been coming to my channel. Like this video, share this video, and hit that notification bell so you guys know when I drop my next one. In this video, we will actually be discussing a ruling that I am definitely waiting to see the judge make in the Justin B versus Blake Lively It Ends With Us movie. This is containing the initial New York Times article in which it seemed to lean a lot toward Blake Lively, and they put that article out before that noon deadline that they asked Justin B to respond to. Now, again, I'm going to be reading a little bit of this. I'll be skipping around. As you guys can see, I'm starting on page 5 because I actually want to hit some key details of this document, which is 36 pages. And New York Times is arguing, and we're just going to get straight into it, that according to Rule 8 of Federal Rules of Civil Procedure, it imposes a lenient standard for pleading, and they cited this case, Winder versus McMahon, that a pleading need only contain a short and plain statement of the claim showing that the pleader is entitled to relief. And they again cited another case. Specific facts are not necessary. The pleading need only give the defendant a fair notice of what the claim is and the grounds upon which it rests. And again, they're citing another case. And they're saying that the Second Circuit has noted that Rule 8 does not necessarily require that the complaint separate out claims against individual defendants. Nothing in Rule 8 prohibits collectively referring to multiple defendants where the complaint alerts defendants that identical claims are asserted against each other. And again, they cited another case. Now, let me back up and give you guys a little bit more information. Again, this has to do with the New York Times article and why Justin and Wayfarer is suing New York Times. Now, this is getting directly into the case. And this has a lot to do with, from what I read, has to do with the time given to Justin in which he was not given, in his opinion, to respond by the noon deadline before the article was actually published early. And I'm just going to share my opinion. I am not a lawyer. I am just reading through this. And I'm just trying to make sense of what we are reading and what we have been discussing together on social media. Now, again, this is, I guess, the New York Times point of view, where it's saying that the FAC gives New York Times adequate notice of the claims against it, and the FAC alleges that the New York Times conspired with Lively, Ryan Reynolds, Sloan, and Vision PR to advance a false and defamatory narrative concerning the Wayfarer parties, ultimately coordinating a near simultaneous drop of the article, video, and CRD complaint. The allegations in these 3 documents fall into 2 principal categories. Number 1, allegations that certain of the Wayfarer parties engaged in misconduct toward Blake Lively, and 2, allegations that the Wayfarer parties orchestrated a retaliatory smear campaign to damage Blake Lively's image and reputation after she purportedly reported their alleged misconduct. And they're saying that these allegations are false and that the New York Times either knew that they were false or acted with reckless disregard as to their falsity, to the extent that the New York Times is grouped in parts of the FAC with other consolidated defendants. That is because, as alleged in the FAC, they conspired in secret over a matter of months. And this is key right here that I think. If they can prove this one, the precise contours of the New York Times involvement were carefully concealed and impossible to ascertain fully without discovery. And the FAC alleges that the New York Times participated actively in the legal maneuvering at the heart of Blake Lively's strategy, and with articulated basis, in fact, that the coordination began as early as October 31st of 2024, noting references to articles of HTML source code of October 31st, 2024, and alleging that the New York Times had already began building the article no later than that date. Now, again, this is key because this is like a little different than just acting off of a random tip from, like, say if Blake Lively called New York Times and the day before and they was like, oh my God, we're going to wrap with this story. Let's write it up. We have to give Justin B and Wayfair time to respond. They're saying that they sat on this since October 31st, 2024. And on top of that, they're saying that the article's HTML source code is key to this. Now, even though you can say that the press can go ahead and print stuff like this, if you read further down into this, it is not only just citing this California law, and again, I might actually have to make a separate video about this because there's basically a lot going on here. In fact, I might. It's basically saying that the New York Times conspired over a matter of almost 2 months to get this article out and gave Justin literally a Friday night or such on a holiday weekend of Christmas of all times to try to get a lawyer to respond before it was printed out at noon. Which, I mean, come on, Christmas, nobody is working. And I am definitely waiting to see about this. For the simple fact, if they can actually prove this, one thing I think that they might have to do is get somebody to verify that HTML code. I think they could, I mean, if this moves forward, they could also subpoena the communications with Blake Lively and the New York Times. And I think, I'm waiting to see how this goes because I know that the press is given a lot of leeway when they publish things, but the damages caused by this, I mean, this literally kickstarted the biggest scandal of 2025. And there's been so much public interest in this case. And there's so many moving parts. Because, it basically is almost taking down a company. And then, this seriously damaged Justin B. So we might actually have to make a part 2 for this because I think it is going to be key to know when did the New York Times first get the information versus when it was actually published. I think that might be key because they're denying that they had this early. And again, Wayfair is definitely going after this. If you guys would like for me to read this in full, I definitely will read this in full because there's a lot of information going on here. I just want to give you guys an overview how the judge rules on this particular argument. Could be a good way to see how much or how little can be narrowed in this case. And I would not be surprised if New York Times would not be subpoenaed anyway for the overall case, just because this is a huge part of what happened with the damages to Justin B, Wayfair, and it ends with us in general. So I don't think that the New York Times is going to be off the hook to even be called or investigated just because this is huge. And also, there is a video I am looking into which someone affiliated with the New York Times was basically using language in a way that they did not say that that was opinion and not factual statements, or they didn't use the word allegations. I'm looking into that too, because there are actually videos coming out that are asserting that specific language used by, I don't know if it was one of Blake Lively's people, that basically said that this information was true and not opinion. So like I said, I'm looking into this. I'm going to continue reading this. I might come back with a longer video because there's a lot to unpack here. And this is going to be a very significant development in this case. So I'm definitely going to come back. I just want to give you guys a short overview of everything going on with this. Like, share, subscribe. I'm definitely might come back with a part 2. Let me read through this a little bit more, because this actually could get ruled either way. So like, share, subscribe, you guys, and we'll be back for more of an update with this. And we definitely need to talk about the timelines with this New York Times situation. Like, share, subscribe, you guys, and we'll be back with a part 2 for this New York Times publishing situation. Bye, guys.